All right, guys, looks like Sakurai is ready to go on another tear because we've got an update for the second Kirby Air Riders direct that we're going to talk about. In addition to Donkey Kong Bananza, some stuff that's happening with the extra content in that game, and big AAA updates, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade, and the future of Final Fantasy, Inazuma 11, Star Wars, and with so much to talk about, let's just go ahead and jump right in. We're going to start off with Kirby Air Riders. The direct is set for October 23rd. If you're not counting or if you missed it, this is the second one, and this is a behemoth. 60 minutes long, 1 hour of Sakurai and Kirby. I mean, they said so much last time. What could potentially be in this one? Well, let's talk about it here. So Nintendo will host a Kirby Air Riders Direct number 2 on October 23rd at 6 a.m. PT, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. The company recently announced via Twitter/X. You'll be able to watch it on YouTube and on Nintendo.com, and I will be up bright and early, set, ready to go, ready to discuss, ready to just talk about the goodness. And I think it's because this is a multiplayer game, and Sakurai is doing this because Sakurai wants to do this. Like, if this game was made by Nintendo themselves, they probably wouldn't have done this. But since it's Sakurai and he really wants people to know about how great this game is, and because he's just a natural when it comes to presentations, he is just a natural talker. He is a natural presenter, and he's a natural just seller of what makes a game a game. So I really feel, even though that this game with the original or Kirby Air Rider on the GameCube didn't do that great, I really feel that Kirby Air Riders is set to actually sell pretty good in comparison to the first game. Now, the first game, I don't think even hit 500,000 units or so. It was a player's choice, but the requirements for player's choice definitely dropped over the years. So it wasn't necessarily a massive seller or anything, but I think that with the Nintendo Switch 2, with Sakurai's profile at this point, with the amount of attention that are on the online marketing and what they can do, especially with these directs, and also with what they're doing with the Nintendo Switch brand name just in general, I think that it's going to do considerably better than what we saw on the GameCube, where even back then, I remember looking at magazines and seeing the game, but nobody was really talking about it like that. People are talking about Kirby Air Riders when it comes down to this game, especially in Japan. I think that's where this game is probably going to do incredibly well, is in Japan, where the directs and the talk of this game is super highly viewed, more than it is in the US when it comes to the trailers and all that. So I expect this game to actually turn some heads and do pretty well when it comes down to reviews and, of course, these sales. I will be streaming the event. It's going to be bright and early. I'll hopefully see you guys all there because it's at 6 a.m. my time, West Coast PT. So I'll be up like at around 4:30 to get things going. So about an hour and a half beforehand. So look out for that. So what do you guys think about this when it comes to Sakurai back at it again with the Kirby Air Riders Direct 2 coming in on October 23rd? Let me know in the comment section. But before we get to the next topic, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the next topic here. Donkey Kong Bananza DLC, DK Island plus Emerald Rush, hosting monthly limited time events. Now, this is something that was advertised, but people were wondering where it was at, because some people were saying overpay for the DLC. Like always, anytime that there's a DLC, especially Nintendo DLC, it's overpaid for it, right? So people were saying overpay. But now we have some monthly events that are coming in here. So first event will run from October 28th to November 4th. So coming up next week as of the time that I'm recording this video. So Nintendo will host monthly limited time events for Donkey Kong Bananza paid downloadable content, DK Island plus Emerald Rush. The first event is called Chip Fever and will run from October 28th to November 4th. So here are the details of this. During each event period, you can tackle a special Emerald Rush challenge that shakes up the usual formula by setting some fixed conditions, such as the Emerald perks you can obtain from fossils and Bandanium gems. You'll still be able to select your Emerald perk from 3 choices, but the options presented to you will remain the same during each run. Achieve the challenge's target scores, and you'll be rewarded with certain character statues and Bandanium chips, which can be exchanged for standard statues. Don't worry, if you don't get it the first time, you can retry as many times as you'd like within the event period. So during this time, players can smash their way through DK Island for a chance to collect statues of Engarde and Kong Bananza. Donkey Kong Bananza is out, of course, and this is one of my favorite games so far of the year. I haven't got too much time to play the DLC because I've been so busy with Trails in the Sky and Hades 2 and Pokemon Legends ZA and a bunch of other games that are going to be coming out as well, with Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Kirby Air Riders, Metroid Prime 4. So there's so much to play, and there's just simply not enough time. Like, if I beat a game, I'm like, all right, cool, got to move to the next thing overall. And that's pretty much what I've been doing from game to game, from Mario Kart to Rune Factory to Donkey Kong Bananza, to Trails in the Sky, to Hades, to Pokemon Legends ZA. It's just been one game after another in any of the spare time that I do have. But I'm happy that this is actually adding in some extra content and extra stuff to do, because that was one of the knocks on this DLC from some fans, that it wasn't worth the $20. But I think that now with events and different rewards that you can get for them and mixing things up, it actually feels like it's more worth the money that you paid for it, especially if you've already got through a lot of the content that's the DLC for the $20. So I definitely like that, and it's going to be interesting to see how long they support this, because this is still a single player game. So if they support this when it comes to limited time events, like all the way through to next year or maybe even after, that's not bad at all. And of course, if you're a huge fan of the combat system in Donkey Kong Bananza, then you're probably going to want to pick up this DLC. So what do you guys think about this when it comes to the first limited time event here for Donkey Kong Bananza? Another big first party update here. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, let's go and move on to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and what is happening here and what's going to be happening potentially with Remake Part 3. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth never got DLC, unlike Final Fantasy VII Remake, which got the Intergrade DLC. Now, Mr. Hamaguchi talked about this recently and why they didn't do the DLC and what could happen in the future. Here is his full words. There were definitely some ideas to create a Rebirth DLC, and that was the plan at a certain point in time. But when we revisited this topic and we thought about what our priorities should be and what the fans are looking forward to the most, we figured that what fans want the most is to bring the third installment as soon as possible. That would take priority over the Rebirth DLC, so we decided to take that approach. With that being said, once we release the third installment, there is a possibility of having a DLC for that third installment with that conclusion of Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy. There's probably going to be a much wider audience for Final Fantasy as a whole. Whether we bring another new DLC or a full title, that's something we are actively considering. So that last part to me is definitely one of the more interesting things here, because we all know that this was an exclusive, or at least timed exclusive franchise for Sony with the FF7 Remake Trilogy. That was something to where it was all just going to be on PlayStation. There was deals set up, but something broke down and the sales definitely did not follow from Final Fantasy VII Remake to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Because of the massive dip in install base from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5, and I would also say even some of the priorities of what people play, the demographics and what people want when it comes down to it, I think even that changed overall, especially in Japan, where people were buying PS4s for Japanese RPGs to a degree. But then the Nintendo Switch kind of took that country by storm and is the best-selling system of all time in Japan. And I think that you combine that with the aging fan base of Final Fantasy and the fact that people probably looked at Final Fantasy VII Remake and thought it was a full remake of the original beloved game from the PS1, and it's not that. It's split into parts and it plays very differently. And yes, they marketed it in a certain way and they showed off what it was, but sometimes people just go and pick up stuff because, oh wow, I remember that when I was young. And I think that there are some people just said, what the heck is this? And decided to not pick up Rebirth afterwards. Or maybe even some people that are just waiting. I know that my actual brother is a huge Final Fantasy VII fan, and he's just waiting till all of them come out, and then he's just gonna buy it in a triple pack or something, which Square Enix already started selling a double pack of theirs, so you know there's going to be a triple pack as well. So I think that that's kind of what happened there. But what he says at the last part, he says that there's going to be a much wider base. There's going to be much more people that are going to be playing this game overall, a much wider audience, because it's going to be on the Nintendo Switch 2, it's going to be on Xbox, and it's probably going to be all at around or at the same time, so day and date. So I think that is going to create a bigger audience overall, especially in Japan with the Nintendo Switch 2, as that system dominates. And Pokemon Legends ZA recently came out. We're going to see how that has an effect on system sales and what Nintendo ships to that country. So what do you guys think about this when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the DLC that never happened, and FF7 Remake Part 3 and what they're doing there? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, let's talk about another big AAA third-party update, Star Wars Outlaws for the Nintendo Switch 2. This game somehow keeps getting better and better. We got patch notes, texture quality improvements, and more. I mean, I can't believe how good this port is. Now, I'm not saying that the game is the best game in the world or the best third-party title out there. I just personally think, based off of playing it myself and based off of playing Cyberpunk and some of the other big third-party AAA games on the Switch 2, this is by far the most impressive one. And it's not even in 60 FPS, it's in 30. But what they were able to do with this game on the Snowdrop engine and getting it actually running and looking a bit better at multiple times compared to the Xbox Series S version, that is an incredible engineering feat, and the team actually decided to go in on this one and see and try when it comes down to it. So here are the updates that we are going to go over. So we got some general gameplay fixes when it comes to stealth takedowns, but here's the cool stuff. The performance, improved stability, so those dips that you might have got sometime or some places, that's probably going to be smoothed out. The graphics overall fixed an issue where textures could appear low resolution after extended play sessions, which was something that Digital Foundry and people did point out. Fixed some broken assets on some places, reduced cliff popping when traveling, improved texture quality, fixed shadow flickering. There's all sorts of cool stuff, even improvements to the UI accessibility, fixed issues with UI when it comes to highlighted enemies. They have continued to work on this game, despite the game already being out for weeks now, and honestly, they probably could have stopped after the title update too. Even with the original title update, that kind of brought things up. Okay, that's pretty good. And then they had another one, and then they brought this one in just to kind of say, all right, we're still going. So the Switch 2, what this really proves is that the Switch 2 has plenty of juice in it to run modern games. Like, it's not going to run them, obviously, at the PlayStation 5 Pro level or anything like that, but we're going to talk about another game that has some pretty good specs performance when it comes to Switch 2, at least based off what the developer has to say. But it's one of those things where some people were questioning if it could run modern games and how well those games would run. I think Star Wars Outlaws, the Gold Edition here, is a complete, I would say, proof of concept, proof that the Switch 2 is plenty powerful enough to handle these modern games if you got a team that actually cares about getting the job done. And that's what Star Wars Outlaws has done. So I'm very happy about that. I have the game. At some point, I'll get back to it, started playing. There's so many other things to play. But yeah, it's very good. And I made videos on it before. It's very good for what they've done. And I think that there's probably going to be some Black Friday deals. So if you see it for 40 or 30 bucks or something like that on Nintendo Switch 2 and you want to play portable, I think that it's a great pickup overall, considering the quality of this port that we saw. All right, let's talk about this last topic, and I kind of alluded to it. Inazuma 11 Victory Road. It almost seems like this game has been in development for as long as Final Fantasy 15 was. It seems like this was supposed to come out a long time ago. Well, finally, it's dropping on November 13th, apparently, at this point. And the important thing with this is that when it comes to all the versions of the game, it's actually really solid. They put out a system specifications list, and if you're playing it on a high-end PC, you're going to get 4K 120 FPS. You're playing it on a PS5 Pro, you're going to get 4K 120 FPS. You're playing on an Xbox Series X, you're going to get 4K 120 FPS. PS5, 4K 60. Switch 2, 4K 60, PS4 1080p 60, Xbox Series S 1440p 60 FPS. The only system that's kind of like is the Nintendo Switch 1. You get 1080p but only 30 FPS in TV mode. So one of those things to where, yeah, probably ready you got to upgrade to that Nintendo Switch 2 if you want that portable experience of Inazuma 11, which is an RPG soccer game. You're definitely going to want to be able to play that portable with the RPG elements and the social elements and the gameplay style. Totally a portable style game, which that's really where it started when it comes to Inazuma 11, like on the DS or 3DS or something like that. So portable systems is kind of where this franchise made its mark. So I do think that the Switch 2 is going to be a very attractive option for many people out there, and I'm glad that it's at 4K 60. They didn't skimp out when it comes down to that. So November 13th, you guys have seen some of the new final trailers here. And yeah, I'm hoping that everything works out. And the reason why I'm covering this too is because this is one of the last steps before we get to the next layer of the level 5 games. Level 5 has just been sitting on stuff like Fantasy Life. They've been sitting on some of these games like the Professor Layton. They've been sitting on Inazuma 11. Now that they've gotten 2 of those 3 out, they can get to Professor Layton, finish that off for early next year, then finally get to Deca Police, which we've all been waiting for, which should get more information next year. It is set to come out next year in 2026 with an anime as well. So I think that getting this game out, finally launching it, you can shift some resources over, get Professor Layton done, then of course give us that big update when it comes to Deca Police, because everyone wants to know what is happening with that game. But it is, which they've already confirmed, 2026 new anime, so we'll see what happens next year. So what do you guys think about all the different topics here? A lot of stuff that we went over. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.